Hey, so when I was a young man, I told a group of friends that I was going to do something really significant that they thought I couldn't do. I'm wondering, have you ever done something that no one thought you could do?
Well, I know I have for sure, Eric, but more on that in a moment. But first, hello, I'm Steve.
And I'm Eric, and together we are two dads with one mission.
Welcome to the 𝗙𝗃𝗔𝗬𝗀 podcast. This is the show for dads, all about fatherhood, faith, and freedom, one conversation at a time. And on this episode, have you ever told yourself a lie that was so believable it prevented you from doing something?
Yeah, so that's exactly what we're going to get into on this week's show. So back to my experience telling my friends I was going to do something they thought I couldn't do. So what happened was I was an amateur bicycle racer in the state of California. I was about 18 years old, and I was doing pretty good, but I tended to finish kind of in the top 5. Every once in a while, I'd place top 3 and get on the podium and that kind of thing. But I really wanted to win. Like, that was just a big thing for me, was to win a race. And so I picked a really major race. It was one of the biggest races in California at the time. It was in a town called Davis, California. And Davis is known for being a cycling community. And it was just a really prestigious race. And so I thought about this for a while, but then 2 weeks prior to the race, I told my entire race team and my coach that I was going to win this race. And it kind of scared me. I mean, to be honest with you, it was like, holy cow, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, because I was a kid that, I kind of did what I said I was going to do in life. And so I said this thing out loud, and people looked at me, my friends, my, guys that I raced with, and even my coach kind of looked at me a little sideways, like, wow, you're really putting yourself out there. And so the short story is I ultimately won that race. But I can tell you that, a lot of people in the competitive world think there's a lot to do with luck. And I'm not really a luck kind of guy. And I can tell you that I don't think I ever trained harder in my life in my cycling career than in those 2 weeks, at least up to that point. And I was so focused and trained so hard for this event. But on the day of the event and during the race, I didn't just win this race by the skin of my teeth or anything like that. I almost entirely lapped the whole group. But then I had to retreat mid-race. And anyway, I ended up winning the race by this huge margin, got interviewed by the race official, and it was just this big deal. But after that, nobody in my team looked at me the same way after that. They really didn't know what to think of that. But for me, it was this huge, turning point in my life that I realized sometimes we have these limiting beliefs, and overcoming them can be this really huge, powerful thing in our life. So I don't know. What about you, Steve? I know you've had a couple of experiences that were similar to that in different ways.
Yeah, I've had a few experiences, but it's really interesting that you spoke about these limiting beliefs. So again, obviously the topic of the podcast is the lies we tell ourselves, otherwise known as kind of our belief system, or, the lies, the limiting beliefs. And it's the things that we habitually tell ourselves that can hold us back from, success and progress. Right. So more on that as we get in. But yeah, I've had a few things occur to me as well in terms of, I guess when I started my entrepreneurial career, moving on from kind of, a safe and secure job environment and taking that plunge into entrepreneurship, I guess the lies I was telling myself up until that point is, look, you needed to have a certain education. I barely graduated high school. I didn't do college or university. I don't have a degree to my name. The only PhD I have is, pig-headed determination. But, the lies I was telling myself is, like, you need to be highly educated to run a business. You need some sort of business business training. You need to almost like you need to know. Yeah, you need to know what you're doing. So I held myself back for years, and then there was a linchpin moment for me, which is, I was in, I moved from grassroots to kind of boardroom level, and was headhunted, and I was headhunted by an organization that was run by, or I can describe them as a couple of characters. So it was run by a couple of characters, not the most, ethical people on the planet. And it was at that stage that the belief I had that you needed to be smart, you needed to be educated, you need to have some sort of business acumen about you was actually broken. So the lies I was telling myself was broken by the actions of these characters. Yeah. And all of a sudden I woke up thinking, well, if these two characters, I won't go much into them, if these two characters can run a business, how hard can it be? And I went online that evening to a website called cahoots.com. This is back in 2004, kahoot.com. And within, 90 seconds, I'd got a £20,000 unsecured loan. And the very next day, I started a business which over a 10-year period became, Queen's Award winning in the UK and, a multi-million pound group of companies.
So in that experience, what can you kind of isolate maybe what the specific limiting belief was that you overcame?
Yeah, so in terms of that, there are tons of limiting beliefs. So let's just go through a few of them, sure. For our listeners, because I'm sure, as you are going about your day now, listening to this, some of these will probably resonate with you. So there's always these top limiting beliefs that are almost like global beliefs. Yeah. And generalizations across, a huge proportion of the population. Things like, I'm not good enough. When you wake up, say, I'm not good enough. Or,
who hasn't experienced that at some point?
Yeah, I don't have time. There's something important that you need to be doing, but it's like, I don't have time. So I'm not good enough. I don't have time. The cliche one, I'll be happy when. Yeah. So I'll be happy when I've got a better job. I'll be happy when I'm in a better relationship. I'll be happy when I earn more money. I'll be happy when. Yeah. And, in the 50 years experience I have on the planet, I told those lies to myself as well at one stage. I know that when you get the thing that you lie to yourself about, you'll be happy when, you're not happy. Because then there's another happy when. Oh, I got the money, I got the job, I got the relationship, but I'm still not happy. I'll now be happy when. But in terms of the precise one for me, I think it was the limiting belief that, you have to have some sort of a background in business, a degree, some sort of business training to be able to start a business. Yeah,
and I know that has to validate who you are or what you can or can't do in life.
Yeah.
And really, if you think about those kinds of things in the entire history of mankind, it's only a very recent amount of time that anybody needed anybody else to validate what they, could or couldn't do, So it's a really new kind of construct, but nonetheless, we struggle with it.
Yeah, and there's a very, very famous quote out there. I think it originates from Henry Ford, the Ford Motor Company, and it goes something along the lines of, look, whether you believe you can or believe you can't,
you're right.
You're right.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, it goes back to this situation with my bike racing. I believed I could, and so ultimately I proved myself right. And what was interesting about that is, for me, that was like this huge paradigm shift, because as I mentioned, prior to that particular event, I was placing, in the low top 10. Every once in a while I'd place third. But after that, I started winning on a somewhat regular basis.
Yeah. And the interesting thing for me there is you've almost done the reverse of what we call the lies we tell ourselves. That was almost like the truth you told yourself, and not a limiting belief. It was more for you an empowering belief. But on the flip side of that, the rest of your race team, they had limiting beliefs. When you told them, they didn't believe you. And then all of a sudden, this epiphany moment happened when you won the race, because then in their mind, you broke their limiting beliefs. Yeah. So they were then thinking, possible for Eric to win the race, So maybe if I train hard, I could do that too.
Yeah. And I guess the reason I wanted to tell that story is because I had limiting beliefs. Like I spent too long of a period of time thinking that that's just who I was, this kind of low top 10 kind of guy, you know, and I finally, honestly, I got kind of pissed off. I'm like, there's no way, you know, there's no way that's who I am, you know, and so I just started changing my behaviors, and I started changing my behaviors, and then I made that decision that I'm going to win this race. And so all through that, there were limiting beliefs that I was overcoming. But you're right. That's a good distinction, is that, you know, I was telling myself that something that was empowering, causing a whole lot of people to really challenge themselves on what could be done, and, you know, that kind of thing. So it's a good distinction.
Yeah. So let's just talk about, you know, the lies we tell ourselves. What are beliefs, and where do they come from? So for me, you know, we at some stage adopt beliefs along the way. So, you know, as we
say something to us.
Yeah, as we're born and growing up. In fact, some of the most limiting beliefs we inherit them from some of the most significant people we're closest to on the planet. You know, our parents, our siblings, you know, and that very close circle there as we're growing up, and usually at an early age. So, for example, you know, if you have a belief and a bad relationship with maybe weight, or you have basically, you know, beliefs around and bad relationships with money, somewhere in and around growing up, it's highly likely that there were conversations going around the family table about those same topics, and you then adopted those beliefs. How do you adopt the belief? Is just before you adopt the belief, right before a decision happens in your nervous system, and you decide that now is true for you. And that's how the belief is born inside your nervous system. But here's the thing. We adopt all of these beliefs over a period of time, and just getting, you know, very technical for 30 seconds. Let's just talk about some of the neuroscience around, you know, how we learn. So, you know, the human brain loves to learn. It loves to learn quickly. And the way it learns quickly is through what we call generalization. What a generalization is where you group similar things together. So growing up, when you saw a door for the first time and you saw someone open that door, it doesn't matter what type of door it was, whether it was a revolving door, a door that opened inside or outside with a handle, a circular handle, or an up and down handle. You basically saw that, and then all of a sudden your nervous system saw everything that looked like a door, and it grouped them all together. So now there isn't a door on the planet insofar as there's a level playing field. It's unlocked and open. There isn't a door on the planet that you'll come to and you go, I've never seen a door like this before. How do I open it? You can basically open any door. Well, it's the same with beliefs. So when we adopt these belief system, our nervous system then generalizes it out. So then we start to see the world through the lens of the beliefs which we've adopted. And for me, just the thought of that is disempowering. It's like there is so much more in terms of an expansiveness of opportunity and potential out there, but because you're blinkered and you're only seeing life through the lens of your belief system, you're now not open to the possibilities.
Yeah, because you don't even see it anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's just talk about, I think, you know, we like to keep these podcasts really short and succinct and leave people with something really powerful. So in terms of these beliefs, we have the lies we tell ourselves, these, you know, these limiting beliefs. It's normally things that you can't do. So, you know, I can't do it, or, you know, I'm not worthy, those types of things. So, you know, how can we turn them around, Eric? What can we do when we're faced with our own limiting belief, like I don't have time or I'm not good enough? What can we do instead to maybe counter those beliefs and see life through a more expansive, different lens and be more open to opportunity?
You know, I think the number one thing that you can do is to just try to step out of your comfort zone. Just mentally, you know, sometimes just quit on you know, once you've isolated a specific belief that you have, just kill it. Just just say, I'm sick of thinking that. I'm gonna think something different. Figure out what that is. Maybe reach out to, people like Steve or I, or somebody else, somebody you trust, and look for ideas, or read a book or something. Try to determine a different way of maybe looking at whatever the challenge is that you're facing. Just get out of your comfort zone. Quit holding on to the status quo like it's the only way.
Yeah.
There's so many ways.
Yeah, and I guess for me, I would just add to that is most limiting beliefs are usually a belief followed by, why does this always happen to me?
Yep.
It's usually kind of that why question. And I like to turn those whys into whats. So rather than, why is this happening to me? It's a case of, right, okay, what has to happen for me to do things differently? So what has to happen? And I think sometimes just by asking that different question, rather than, why is this happening to me, which is almost like, you being the victim, into being the victor, which is, okay, what has to happen for me to change the way I think around that belief?
Yeah.
Which pretty much ties into what you've said, go and read books, go and talk to people. That's what would have to happen for you to, break your own belief system.
Yeah, mix it up.
Okay. So Eric, I know we're running short on time. What's coming up on the next topic?
Yeah, so next time we're going to be talking about the idea of no matter what you think you are.
No matter what you think you are. That sounds really interesting.
We're going to leave it at that.
Yeah. And an interesting place to find all the resources in and around Allied Dads is simply go to our website, which is allieddads.com.
There you go. If there's anything you want us to talk about, be sure to let us know. And thanks for listening today.
Yeah, thanks for listening. It just leaves me to say what I always say. Go find us and subscribe on your favorite streaming channel.
There you go. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate you.
See you on the next episode.
All right.